Welcome to the Research Room from the York Trials Unit at the University of York. Hello, welcome to the Research Room with me, Lucy Affer.
And me, Janine Healy.
And today in the Research Room, we've got two brilliant researchers from the Bay project. We've got Emma Standley and Alexandrea Wusu. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, thanks for having us. So yes, like Lucy said, I'm Alexandrea, Drea for short.
And I'm Emma Standley. Thanks for having us. I'm a research fellow, so I'm the trial manager of the trial. So I work with another trial manager and trial support officer in the York Trials Unit at the University of York. So I'm mostly interested in child and adolescent mental health and also autism and ADHD and in relation to family wellbeing. So the wellbeing of families with children with additional needs and neurodivergence.
So cool, right? She's an awesome trial manager. So I'm a research support officer and I'm based in Nottingham. I'm part of Notts Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust. And my job is to keep that site kind of running, as well as data collection and research delivery. So yeah, that's kind of my role and it fits in with my interests. I have over 5 years experience working clinically, non-clinically and in research spaces when it comes to children and young people's emotional and mental health. I have got experience working in adult wellbeing as well, but definitely children and young people services is where my heart is, health promotion and health education as well.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
lovely, thank you.
So, just to kind of get us started, could you tell us the name of your project?
Sure. So this study is called Behavioural Activation for Young People with Depression in Specialist Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services. That's the long title. For short, it's Behavioural Activation for Young People with Depression, a randomised control trial.
Brilliant. So your short name?
Oh yes, the short name is, all trials have a little short name. So your short name is?
Yeah, Behavioural Activation for Young People.
Bay.
That's
what I was trying to get.
This is what we're trying to get at.
I want your acronym.
Yeah, Bay,
acronym
that's
is
the shortest.
Yeah.
So we have like a little competition about these short names, you see.
Oh, right.
So we're wanting to sort of grade them as to what we think, whether they're
Yeah.
really good or not. So,
What do you think of Bay? I like Bay.
Can I tell
Bay,
you
yes.
the vision before you grade
I
it?
think,
Oh,
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
okay.
Because the vision from the chief investigator was that it created peaceful image of a bay with the beach and the sea and calm waves and promoted sort of a sense of calmness.
Oh. And the
Okay,
B, A
that's
and Y stands for?
Behavioural activation for young.
Young
Behavioural
people.
activation, young.
Yeah.
Okay. I know what you're thinking. It's not a real acronym.
It's better than some.
Yeah. I like it. I like that it's short.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like the fact
Yeah.
that it has a meaning behind it.
Me too,
It's
actually.
put
That's
thought
swayed
into
me a
that,
bit.
hasn't it? Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's swaying me.
I'm going to
yeah.
give it an 8
Whoa,
gosh.
thank you.
What is it
I
out
know.
of?
Out of 10.
Okay.
Out of
Okay,
100.
Yeah.
Extra credit. Can we say about the logo for extra credit?
Oh,
because
yeah.
there's
you
thought
can
in the
do.
logo as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
So
What's your logo?
there are 3 miniature people, and there's a person at the bottom of the B, and a person midway through the A, and then a person standing on top of the Y, and it's to show how they've
Bit
overcome.
of progression.
And
through
the figures change colours, and the first figure is quite a deep purple. The middle figure is kind of like a lighter purple, pinkish. And then the person on the Y, it goes from pink to yellow. And that's to show that as much as they've progressed and overcome, things might still linger. And that's to show that, success is not just about being perfect. It's about being on that journey. So we had a lot of involvement from PPI on that, didn't we, as well? It was really important that we felt the young people could see themselves recognised even in the logo. So for extra credit.
I like
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then.
Wow, we have a lot of thought.
There's
It's
a lot of
into
thought
every
put
little
into this.
element.
Yeah. So it's okay. I'll give it a 7. Is
A
that all right?
7.
I'm creeping up here.
That
So
might be the best you've given out.
it is.
Oh,
Is it?
wow.
Best I've
We're
given out.
honoured, huh?
Okay.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
winning so far.
Thank you.
So can you describe your project in a few sentences?
Yeah, we can. We put something together. I started it and Andrea finished it off and really pulled it together. So I'm going to let Andrea take the credit for this one. It's a very tricky thing to do, to summarise a full trial in a sentence, isn't it?
Thanks, Emma.
Well, a few sentences, not just one. We're not that cruel.
We've done it
in one, but we can always expand. So BAY is a randomized controlled trial with young people that seeks to improve low mood symptoms using behavioural activation in CAMHs as a therapy. And the reason why this study, especially in CAMHs, is quite important is because behavioural activation as a therapy is not widely understood with this population, with adolescents. So that's kind of the key points with this study is in CAMHs, it's a therapy that we're trialling, behavioural activation, and we're hoping that it improves young people's low mood.
And what is CAMHs?
CAMHs stands for Child Adolescent Mental Health Services. And it can be really tricky because what CAMHs is understood as across the nation varies from trust to trust.
Really?
And there's different tiers in CAMHs support. We are really recruiting from specialist CAMHs. So you're thinking more your tier 3, tier 4 support. Whereas, a young person who has low mood or anxiety or worries can get support anywhere from tier 1 to tier 3 or 4. So we're looking at that tier 3, tier 4, that
what do you mean
high level,
the tiers, I'm sorry.
The tiers is how severe their presentation is.
Of mental health.
Of mental health problems. And so
tier 1 is the lowest. And
tier 1 is the lowest. You got it. So we're like recruiting from specialist services, specialist CAMHs. So that's looking at those maybe riskier cases, more severe presentations. So tier 3 or 4. I think there can be tier 4s in some areas of the nation. I'm not too sure, but yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so young people who have mental health problems.
Yes.
But tier 3 and 4, so kind of, that sounds quite serious or
getting
towards serious.
Yeah, risky.
Yeah, quite severe. So the some of the context of the background of the study is that the threshold for reaching tier 3s is really quite high. So by the time they reach tier 3, young people are in crisis, or they're really struggling with not just low mood but anxiety and various other sort of complex needs and symptoms and things. So our chief investigator, Professor Bernard Kidabishka, is a psychiatrist, and she was finding that in CAMHs, lots of young people were on waiting lists for a really long time, months up to a year, quite a lot of the time, and they were having to wait on that waiting list until they saw quite a senior psychiatrist like herself, which was obviously costing the NHS quite a lot of money. And then it was the psychiatrists or the really specialised psychologists that were delivering therapy or support to these young people with their complex needs. And she felt that there was a different way of doing that. So a solution of training junior or less senior colleagues, so the staff that are at band 4 and 5 in the NHS. So they're usually assistant psychologists or
practitioners.
Yeah, wellbeing practitioners, education mental health practitioners, family support workers, that kind of role in behavioural activation. And they were the ones that will deliver the therapy to the young people, and hopefully it will improve their low mood so they could either leave CAMHs and they didn't need any more support from the sort of expensive senior practitioners, or their low mood would be improved enough to stabilise whilst they were on the waiting list, and that they wouldn't deteriorate any further. So once they reached sort of the psychiatrist, they wouldn't need to spend as long working with that person and sort of costing more money and all of that kind of thing. So really distributing skills across the workforce to hopefully reduce waiting lists and improve young people's mental health.
Yeah.
So I suppose at this point we need to ask you to explain in a sort of nutshell what behavioural activation is, if I can get the terminology right.
Yeah, so I think we can both touch on that, can't we?
can.
So the behavioural activation is mostly at the moment researched with adults. So we found that in adults it's proven to be quite effective and work, but we don't know much about what it does for young people yet. So you always say a cousin of CBT, don't
do.
you? Which I think is a really
I
good
like
way.
that.
Yeah.
And CBT is cognitive behavioural therapy.
Yeah.
So the depression cycle is what happens when someone experiences low mood and then they disengage with activities that they enjoy, and then they experience more low mood because they've withdrawn from social circles and they've stopped doing things that they enjoy and that are meaningful to them. So what behavioural activation tries to do is break that cycle and gets young people back involved in meaningful activities again before they actually start to feel better. So getting them involved in activities to help them to feel better. And when they work with their therapist, they'll sort of plan in activities and they'll work out with their therapist which activities are meaningful to them, what they can engage with that they might have withdrawn from or not, or that they've not engaged with in a while. And then they will rate how they felt after doing each activity. So it might be that it might be something sort of that seems so simple as texting their friend or getting a shower, or it might be that they go and play football with their friends again, or it might be something practical that needs doing, like their homework. But since experiencing low mood, they're not doing their homework anymore and they're falling behind at school and that kind of thing. So then they'll rate how they're feeling once they've done that activity. And the idea is then it snowballs into doing something else. Once they've texted their friend, they might feel a bit better because their friend's replied and they've had a conversation, and that might help them to feel like they can ring their friend next time, or that they can go out for a coffee with them next time. Or so it's kind of this snowball effect. Do you want to add to that?
No, definitely. That's a really good explanation. Yes, when I explain it to young people, they ask me, what is behavioral activation? I say, if they know about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, you're just taking the B part out and focusing on that. And I think the way I like to explain it to them as well is I say, when they get the chance to do these activities or challenge themselves to set new goals, then they might experience these happy hormones. And I simplify it, obviously, because, talking about all the different kinds of hormones you can get when you're happy, or the reward center in the brain. That's quite,
exactly that.
So I say, it helps boost those happy hormones. Sometimes we need to do the behavior first before we experience that. And usually that message gets across, they understand. And like Emma said, I think behavioral activation is an interesting one because at the moment, different CAMHs clinics do offer something and they call it behavioral activation. So it's not very standardized right now. So it's quite interesting. People have different takes, slightly different takes. Overall, it's quite understood that it's challenging low mood with behavior changes. But yeah, I think it doesn't just have to be a sport or an activity where, they really have to go out the house and do that. A young person might not be at that stage yet. So in our appointments, we explore all kinds from, taking a shower that day, going for a walk, playing with their dog, to if it's texting that friend, doing something more social or signing up to a new club. So there are so many activities that young people can use to set goals towards.
Yeah.
And so it's quite cool, like listening to the different things that are meaningful to our young people. Some are super artsy, some are super sciencey, some are super social, even with experiencing low mood. So there's different stages that our young people can be at.
And you tailor it to the person, don't you?
We do.
There's
really the one who comes up with the goal. And I think a key part of this project as well is allowing the young person to take ownership over it. So in our research appointment, kind of the big research appointment, the baseline, they set an overall goal with the researcher and it's guided by us, but we make sure that the young person feels it's something that they can relate with.
Yeah. So it's this behavioural activation is what you're kind of testing. And is that, you were saying about the waiting list, so is that trying to get people off the waiting list by using the behavioural activation
Yeah.
rather than them waiting for ages to see a specialist.
To see a specialist, or even if, from my experience in the trial so far, BA could be a solution for wait lists for any kind of treatment alongside young people who are, a little bit more poorly and do need to wait for a psychologist or psychiatry. But yeah, any young person that's waiting, because like we established earlier, a lot of these young people are already at crisis point. So I think the stabilization point actually is a real asset to this study as well. Just helping families feel like they're being taken care of and saying, we've got something available for you a little bit sooner than for whatever you're waiting for. The clinics that I work with in Nottingham are lovely and awesome, Nottinghamshire, and they do well-being checks. They've really paid attention to these waiting list issues, and managing crisis on a waiting list is hard. And it's not foolproof, but it does do the job at the moment. Them doing their waiting well checks and calling them every few weeks. But something like behavioural activation, if we're able to offer it to people who are waiting on a wait list for any kind of treatment, I think that's a job well done, really. So
yeah, definitely. And I think the waiting lists are obviously a big problem that you want to cut down. And when you say young people, can I just check what age range are we talking about?
Yeah, so it's 11 to 17, and it's up to 17 and 6 months. The idea being that if they enter the study at 17 and 6 months, in theory, they've still got another 6 months until they turn 18 and go into adult
and at that point,
services.
Can they not be in the study anymore? When
what
they're
happens
18?
to them when they turn 18? Yeah.
Well, so they can still do their follow-ups. So they just have to be 11 to 17 at the point of entering the study.
Okay.
And they have to have been accepted and assessed by CAMHs within 6 weeks, which means that we capture all of those that have newly entered CAMHs, and it tackles that challenge of the waiting list because they've sort of newly come into CAMHs. They're ready and waiting for whatever support they might receive, and then this is offered as an additional to whatever support they might get. A lot of the time, the support that they're offered might be something like CBT, but there might be a waiting list for however many months.
Yeah.
So BAE can be quite desirable for families, like Drea says, when they know that they're not only getting the offer of potentially the behavioural activation, but also the involvement with the researcher, and having those consistent appointments with the researcher is also quite nice for the families as well.
it's lovely for us too. It's so fun.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. So it's very, very interesting. It's a great aim, I think, to help people when they're in crisis and also bring the waiting list down. Fab.
So it's a randomised controlled trial. How does that work?
So it's a randomised control trial, which means essentially that we are comparing our behavioural activation to treatment as usual in CAMHs. So just to start from the beginning, the participants or potential participants, so the young people that we think might be eligible for the trial, or that we think the trial might be suitable for those young people, identified at CAMHs by researchers like Drea. So they're meeting with clinicians, they're looking at the clinical records and finding young people who we think might be eligible. They're then sent out an information pack so that the families can have a read through the information. And they then go through what we call a screening process. So the researchers will meet with them, ask a few questions and do a screening questionnaire. That is to check if they have low mood symptoms above a certain threshold. So what we're looking for is low mood that is sort of severe enough to be in the population that we're looking at, and that we're making sure that it's appropriate for young people with low mood on the moderate to severe end. And then they will get booked in for a baseline appointment. They're asked quite a lot of questionnaires which capture things like their depression, anxiety, quality of life, general health, things like that. They're then randomized. So that means that the computer system will randomize the participant. It's on a 50-50 basis. So they'll either get randomized to receive the behavioural activation that we've talked about already, or they'll continue with treatment as usual, which is whatever CAMHs usually offer. So they'll be randomized to receive one or the other. Then they'll go on to receive that support. So if it's the behavioural activation, the BAE trained therapists will deliver our behavioural activation program. And then the researchers will get in touch with them again, a 12-week follow-up, a 6-month follow-up, and a 12-month follow-up. The time points differ across trials, but they're just the timelines that we've picked.
So how often do they get the behavioural activation support?
It's an 8-week program, 1 session per week. Some young people might finish it sooner than that, or some might need a couple of extra sessions just to finish it all. So ideally that would all happen before the 12-week follow-up. And then at each follow-up, they do the same questionnaires again. And what we're trying to look at is whether their low mood has improved, got worse, or stayed the same. And we're particularly interested in the 6-month time point. So we're comparing low mood at baseline compared with at the 6-month follow-up time point and seeing if it's improved. What we kind of hope to see is that the people who've received our behavioural activation have improved much more than the ones who've received the treatment as usual. But obviously we're objective and we can't hope too much.
So I guess the questionnaires will ask all sorts of questions about how they're feeling.
Yeah.
And then you can compare the answers.
Yeah.
And hopefully they've got better.
Yeah, that's what we hope. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight as well that if a young person is randomized into receiving behavioural activation, they are still very much a CAMHs patient, and they still very much also will receive the treatment plan that CAMHs has set out for them.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, so they get, I see. So CAMHs have some sort of treatment they do themselves.
Yes.
And so if you've got the behavioural activity, you've got that on top of what they do.
It's an additional thing. And that's the key selling point. But that's something that can be a worry for people at times when they're looking at the study. Is this going to affect my care? How will this affect my treatment? And it really won't negatively impact it anyway. You know, they will receive CAMHs support regardless.
So how far are you with the trial at the moment?
Yeah, so we started in June 2022 and we went through all of the setup stage and now we are recruiting. So we were lucky enough to get an extension. So we were meant to finish recruitment in February, but we are continuing to recruit until the end of November now. We'll then do 6-month follow-ups. So we'll finish all of our follow-ups and data collection next May, and then we'll have 6 months of the analysis and writing up and starting to share the results, whatever they might be.
And how many people do you need to recruit?
We need 446 by the end of November, and we're on about 290.
Oh,
so we're nearly there. I think we can do it.
Yeah.
So regarding recruiting to the trial, has it been easy to recruit or have there been any barriers to recruitment?
Anything with children and adolescent services, you know, is not a straight line. And I think we've recognized that as the trial has gone on, which has been great, and we've learned to adapt to it. Just changes in school holiday, exam periods, they all affect how many children are coming into services, because obviously referrals into CAMHs services come from everywhere, come from GP, come from school, come from the families themselves. So you'll see peaks in the year where more referrals come in and peaks where referrals drop. Usually, you think September would be it, but it's usually more October, November.
Okay.
Because they need some time to settle into school. And once they realise, oh my goodness, I'm back in the swing of things, mock exams are coming up, you know, things can get a bit more difficult. So referrals start coming in a bit more for CAMHs. And then for where it concerns us, referrals into the study from clinicians in CAMHs, that can also fluctuate. CAMHs is a space where there can be quite a high staff turnover. So you have to constantly work with the clinics and the clinicians to understand the study, to make sure that we are sending young people our way that would fit the study. We've become quite slick, I would say. Nottingham, we've done really well, and I'm talking for myself and the other researchers that have supported this trial in Knots. Shout out to them; they're awesome. And
Go Knots.
Go Knots! But also love to all the other sites as well.
We know now. Knots are your favourite.
Well, I'm representing Knots today, but we've got some awesome researchers on all the other sites, don't we, Emma? Obviously, there's also young people that can start the screening process and they're not eligible, and so that's the end of their BAE journey, and that's okay. So there's a lot of anticipation, and we've learned how to manage that and work with the clinicians through that and work with the families through that to make sure that we are realistic with their expectations, and that they know what expectations to have, because just because we've approached them for the study does not necessarily mean they'll make it to the baseline process and the baseline appointment. So, it's all fun, and it's part of, making sure that the study really reaches people who it's supposed to reach. And that's why the screening process is thorough like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really well explained. Yeah, because it's always a difficult thing when you're asking people to come on to trials.
Yeah.
Their expectations that I've said I want to come on it, so I'm going to go on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there parents heavily involved then with these children?
Yes, definitely. So definitely with our under 15s, the parents they're our main contact. Even with the over 16 and over, the parents can be the main contact. And in our baseline appointments, we have a whole section, a whole booklet for the parents to complete about their viewpoint of their child, also about their own mental health as well. So the parents are quite involved. So that's another thing. You usually are trying to manage two people's expectation.
Yeah.
This study is about young people, but equally it can be just as much about the parents. And these parents have, if their child has gotten to this point, to this service, this kind of specialist CAMHs, most likely they've already been supported by either the tier 1 or tier 2 services before. They've already gone to GP multiple times. So, we aren't the first professionals that they're seeing for this issue. So there's fatigue, there's exhaustion, there's frustration, even at the start.
Right. Thank you. Explained it again really well.
You're welcome.
Yeah. It sounds like a really interesting project. I can tell you're kind of passionate about it, which is really
passionate.
Really great. Have you enjoyed working on the study?
I have, yes. I worked clinically before this, doing a lot of home visits. So it was kind of cool to be able to home visit in this study as well. I like community work. I think you get to really build a rapport with families quite quickly. And it's just cool seeing loads of different personalities. I really like seeing interactions between young people and their parents and carers. I think, it just gives you a better picture, and I just find it quite sweet. I think even with the crisis that they're going through and how difficult things have been, the care and the want for their young person to feel better comes through stronger than it doesn't, So I enjoy that, seeing that, and being a part of it. It's quite fun.
It seems very rewarding.
I was just going to say that. It sounds very rewarding. Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. So I was going to ask what's next for the project? I guess you want to reach your recruitment target and then...
Yeah, hopefully we'll reach our recruitment target and keep families engaged enough to do their follow-ups. And then we'll, see what the results are, and hopefully do some dissemination events, go to conferences and speak to other professionals, other researchers, and share kind of trials and tribulations of running the trial and working with CAMHs and how that's been and what we've learned from that, working with this population and all of that kind of stuff. And then also working with policy makers and hopefully nice guidelines and that kind of thing, and seeing if we could do anything to implement it depending on the results. And
I guess all going well, this is something that would be...
ultimately you want to make this part of procedure in
I guess in CAMHs.
Yeah.
CAMHs.
To be able to
yes,
be
that's-
offered, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm.
And like I said earlier, want that like a standardized program, something that
Yeah.
a family could go into any CAMHs and know that if my child's receiving behavioural activation, it's a standard program. A child in, I don't know, Liverpool would be receiving the same kind of care, and it's really well thought through.
And it's evidence.
It's evidence based.
Evidence based. That's
That's
what we're all
what
about.
we like. That's the word, isn't it?
I think what I really like about trials, though, is that although it's like this long sort of program of research and that there's this plan at the end, obviously, for a change in practice and all that kind of stuff, it's the difference that you make to families during the process that is so important. So we've had families that have said, oh, it's like enriched my experience of CAMHs being part of this research. We've had some feedback from the Nottingham site, actually. One of the parents got in touch and said that her daughter was re-engaging with her friends and her homework, and she said she felt like she got her daughter back. So,
wow.
which
that's
is just
that's brilliant, isn't it?
yeah,
Makes it feel all worthwhile, doesn't it?
yeah. So
It
even
is.
just the difference to those individual people, whilst it's not evidence based yet, just that opportunity to be involved in research and the opportunity to try a therapy that's not been rolled out yet
Yeah.
is also so valuable as well.
Yeah,
Wow.
well,
What a lovely study. I want to get
I know.
involved.
It sounds really good. Yeah,
Come
yeah.
in.
Can we come
We come.
help you recruit?
I'm sure we could think of
Yeah, we
something.
could, yeah. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for going through all that with us. That sounds, really great. I've learned a lot.
Yeah,
And,
so have I. Yeah, it's been brilliant. And you've explained
listening.
everything so well, yes.
Oh, thank you so
Both
much.
of you, yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
So we've got a bit of fun now. So we're going to do some random research questions with you.
God,
So
okay.
you may have noticed we have a hat here. So we're going to pull some questions out the hat. We've got 5. We're going to ask you 5. So I don't know what they are
Okay.
because there's 20 in there, but we'll ask
I'll let you do the first one.
Okay. They're a mix of kind of fun, silly ones and also nice ones.
Okay.
So what advice would you give to someone starting a similar project?
Do you have an answer ready?
No.
You're supposed to answer this.
I would say that it's important to think about your audience. So if you're in the lucky position of starting out where you've not yet designed any of your documents or anything like that, take the opportunity to be really creative with your information sheets and thinking creatively of how to get young people involved in research and making accessible documents and working closely with young people to design them. We made some really lovely animations with young people and their input was so invaluable. So having that opportunity to not just have a boring old participant information
Yeah.
sheet that's 10
Jazz
pages
things up a
long
bit.
full of text.
You
But
can't say
yeah.
boring or...
Never, but research is never boring.
Yeah, being creative and making it fun,
Yeah.
and tagging it for the audience as well.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, number 2. What have you got?
What is the nerdiest
Oh,
thing you do?
because we're all quite nerdy.
The
in research.
nerdiest. Sorry, I get the right word. The nerdiest.
What is the nerdiest thing you do?
Yeah, we are.
I want an answer from both of you.
Yeah,
Oh.
in research, you are quite nerdy, aren't you? Really?
I've got an answer. I didn't
Go on then.
get considered nerdy, but I don't know. Any film I watch, I then will go back home and research and look into all the actresses and actors. I want to know, like what the plot. Obviously, I've watched the film, but like, what was behind the film? Why?
Oh.
What was the interest?
Oh my
You
goodness!
just
Yeah.
love research.
You
I
are.
just like,
Cannot get enough.
I just now that you say that, I just realised that's what I was doing.
The number one researcher.
I don't know. I think it just is like extending the film to me in my mind.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I like it.
it.
I
That's
like
a
it.
good answer. Yeah.
Good one.
Mine is, so when I was younger, my dad used to take me bird watching all the time.
What
And
you
I-
force your bird watching?
No, not fun.
Sorry.
I enjoyed it when I was younger.
Yeah.
And now I can still remember all the names of birds and things. So I'm
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The secret. bird watcher,
A
which I
bird
think
watcher.
is quite
You're a
nerdy.
secret
Do you
bird
actually? Do
now.
you have things in your garden then? Is you put little
Yeah, we
bird
used to do
feeders
the
out.
RSPB Big Garden Bird Watch.
Oh, I've done that.
yeah.
Right, I'll do your next one. Okay, what's your go-to snack or drink when you're deep in research mode?
Well, in our office, we've got a snack table that we all contribute to. And I think our most popular one is Percy Pigs, but like unusual Percy Pigs, like party pigs and
Oh yeah, like the disco.
the
very cool.
different unusual ones. Yeah.
Oh, I don't like Percy Pigs.
Well, you just want chocolate.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just chocolate. I'm sorry.
I'm really trying to improve my snack game. Like it's really poor at the moment. It'll just be biscuits and fruit.
Oh,
and
nothing
things,
wrong with a biscuit.
You know, a nice
Fruit,
bourbon.
healthy.
I like crunchy fruit. It just helps. I don't know. There's something about it. Just helps me focus. So that's
Very good. I like it. Healthy.
Yeah.
If you could have a billboard anywhere in the world to share one key takeaway from your research, what would it say?
I think the message would be something around getting young people involved in research.
Yeah.
And getting them involved in the whole process and the importance of doing their follow-ups and staying engaged with it. But I don't know where I would want that billboard to be. I think I'm thinking very strategically of like, I'm trying to think where the most young people is so we can recruit.
Exactly. Outside every school in the country.
Yeah.
Always
I'd
thinking
say.
about recruitment.
Join the
Just
baby
every
trial.
school. I think my message would be that research has a place in mental health care, and I think that's something that that's a theme that's come through the last 2 years about a challenge of understanding what's research place in mental health care. I think other kinds of pathways, research is such a understood and accepted and part of their, programs. And I think in mental health care, it's like, where does it fit? And so I'd be like, it's
like
part of research.
Yeah, research fits into
mental health care.
Yeah.
Very good. Oh, this is a nice one as well. What's your favourite part of your research?
I think we already touched on it kind of bit. I mean, we can
we have a bit.
We can
actually.
reiterate it. Do you want to?
You go first.
Yeah, just interacting with the young people, seeing their personalities and seeing, how they are with their families. Like, I absolutely love it when I see a young person who looks just like their parent.
Oh,
Or looks just like their carer. I think it's so cool. Yeah, because I look just like my mum, so I love it.
That's nice.
That kind of thing. So yeah, that's my favorite, interacting with them and hearing back positive feedback from them.
Yeah, I love hearing the feedback and how it's made a difference to people's lives. I also love having our researchers days, which we've actually got on Friday. So
yes,
we often try and all get together as a research team and talk about ongoing challenges and what's going well and celebrate everyone's wins and eat chocolate biscuits and drink lots of coffee. So yeah, I really like getting together as a team as well.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for coming in today. Thank you for joining us in the research room. It's been really great, really, really interesting.
Yeah, it's been really good, really, really interesting and very informative for us both. And it's nice to see everything from a researcher's point of view that's actually, how do you put it, on the ground?
On the ground, delivering.
Definitely.
No, honestly, you guys have been awesome. It's been so much fun. We've been smiling and giggling the whole time, which I really like.
That's what we like.
So
Yeah,
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. Well, you'll have to come back when you've got some results.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
we will.
Definitely.
that would be
Definitely.
awesome.
Yeah.
And we'll put all the information about the trial in the show notes. So if people want to find out more, they can go there and check out your website.
Cool.
Thanks
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us in the research room.
Come back next week for more.